Hey guys, Johnny Castles here, Primetime Tutoring. Listen, we all hate factoring quadratics. I don't even know what a quadratic is, I don't even know what factoring is. If I was at the doctor's office and, I explained to him that it burns while I pee, he'd probably give me a factor. That's what I would assume what factoring means, all right? So let's get down to this and make this whole factoring thing a little bit easier so when Friday night rolls around, we're out ripping it up instead of thinking about math. So let's talk about this idea of factoring, because I remember when I was a kid and I was going through this, I was ready to take a bathtub with my electric toaster after 15 minutes of factoring. So the idea is factoring is backwards math. When you learn to add, you then learn to subtract, because subtracting is the opposite of adding. When you learn to multiply, you then learn to divide, because dividing is the opposite of multiplying. Now at this point in most of your courses, and I say most, some of these courses you'd think the way they're designed, it's a monkey flinging feces at a topic list and that's the order they choose to teach it in. But you probably should have done expanding first. So that means factoring is how we undo expanding. And this is an idea in math that's gonna constantly come back, this backwards math idea.
I'll be back.
So let's take an example here, because I've been just speaking in generalities here like a teacher from Charlie Brown, for God's sake. So let's take 2x times, in brackets, x minus 6. Now again, assuming that most of your teachers haven't adopted the sort of feces flinging monkey approach.
Oh shit, God damn it, look. Oh,
we have a 2x in front of the brackets that signals multiplication. So that 2x, it wants to get tossed into the mix. You're outside a house party, you want to get in the door. That 2x is like you, and the x minus 5, that's like the house party. So the 2x goes in, and we do 2x times x, which gives us 2x squared. And then we do 2x times minus 5, which gives us negative 10x. So what we have is our expanded form of the expression is 2x squared minus 10x. This is expansion. Now, let's go backwards. And we all love to go backwards. I've had a night of rough drinking in many points in my life, and my God, would I want to go backwards. So we're going to embrace this idea of going backwards.
I'll be back.
So let's start with 2x squared minus 10x. What I notice is that the greatest common factor between 2x squared and 10x is 2 and x. Now, by the way, if you need help with the GCF, or the greatest common factor, I have another video on that. You can click my bio and check it out, because it is prime time. But anyways, greatest common factor is 2x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 2x out of the 2x squared and the negative 10x. And when I say take out, we're not talking about Chinese takeout on a Thursday night. We're talking about division, mathematical takeout. So I'm going to take the 2x squared, divide it by 2x. I'm going to take the negative 10x.
Today, Junior!
And divide it by 2x. And what I'm going to be left with is x minus 5. Now, since I'm doing this from a factoring approach, just like the other question that we had in the expansion example, the 2x goes in front. The x minus 5 is in our brackets, and what we have is the ending point of our factoring question is the starting point of our expansion question. Backwards math, just like Schwarzenegger said. I'll be back.
I'll be back.
So now, let's take this concept and apply it to a quadratic. What the hell that is. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take a trinomial. And a trinomial, all that means is it's got 3 terms that can't be added or subtracted together. Remember, terms that can't be added or subtracted together are like, different variables or the same variable with different exponents. So let's take a look at this example. So here's our trinomial. X squared minus 5x minus 6. Now this is, again, everybody's nightmare. This is that ex-girlfriend that, never stops calling, that leaves your dog tied up on your front porch, barely breathing, all right? So let's try and work with this.
because she sideswiped it.
So x squared minus 5x minus 6. First thing we're going to do is we're going to label each term. So the coefficient, which is the number attached to a variable, of x squared, call that a. B is the coefficient on the x. And c is the constant, easy to remember, c for constant. What we do is we take a, multiply it by c, so that gives us 1 times negative 6. And then we also write down b separately, which gives us negative 5. And our goal, now follow this is going to be confusing as all holy hell. You'll think I'm on Schedule A narcotics, but I assure you I'm not. Stay in school, don't do drugs.
Do you take drugs or alcohol?
What is drugs? 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 What is drugs?
We have to find two numbers that multiply to the product of AC and add up or subtract to B. So how do we deal with these factors? What we're going to do is we're going to write all the factors of 6 out. And we're going to start at 1. So we go through 1 and 6. Any way 1 and 6 can add to 5? Well, you know, I've had 8 concussions from playing hockey, but I'm pretty sure that they can add or subtract to 5. Specifically, negative 5. So I double check. I do 6 times negative 1. That gives me negative 6. And then I do 6 minus 1. Now that gives me positive 5. So what that means is I gotta switch the negative off of the 1 and onto the 6. So then negative 6 times 1 gives me negative 6. And then negative 6 plus 1 gives me negative 5. Bingo. So we now have our two factors. This is a great relief. This is the last day of school. This is when the news ends and The Simpsons starts. These are great moments in history. So, what do? We take our two factors and we write them in the brackets. Now, what do I mean write them in the brackets? Again, I've had 8 concussions and some days I don't know my last name or my postal code, but I do know what these brackets are. So what we'll have is we'll have a bracket that's going to be x minus 6, because that's one of the factors we chose, negative 6. And then another bracket that's x plus 1. And lo and behold, we have a factored quadratic. It doesn't involve a trip to the doctor. It doesn't involve burning while urinating. We've just got a simple solved problem, which means come Friday night, you're out ripping and rolling instead of worrying about this crap. Hope you enjoyed the video. Keep fucking rocking and rolling, and we'll see you guys soon. What's the deal with airline peanuts? Who are they trying to keep out of these things? You know, you see the fat guy in the front row wrestling with these things. He's about to have a cardiac embolism and his fucking things explode everywhere. Do you like Huey Lewis and the News? Their early work is a little too new wave for my taste. But when sports came out in '83, the group really came into its own, artistically and commercially. The whole album has a clear, crisp sound and a new sheen of consummate professionalism that really gives the songs a big boost. Some would compare Huey to Elvis Costello, but I would say that Huey has a far more bitter, cynical sense of humor.